Hello, hello, my dear people of the internet. This is your boy, Gangbarang. Buongiorno a tutti. And we have a replay of Bleu Daring. And we're going to talk a bit about how to play Daring. Just a quickie, just a quick little video. One replay, not two. No 50-minute uh, hostage holding here. So, what are we looking at? We're looking at tier 8, 9, 10 matchmaking. Pretty favorable, obviously, for me and Bison in a div. We're in a div. 1D Daring. We have a U-boat, which is most likely to be ignored in Daring. Daring is kind of fine against them. We have a carrier. Have to watch out about this. 5 battleships, really good. 3 cruisers. One of them Petro, one of them Kronstadt, which is fairly problematic in Daring because you are very slow and you are very fat. Kronstadt and Petro radars are obviously drawn to catch you, since your torp range is 10 km and your gun range is 12.8, so you're most likely, if you fight them or if you fight ships around them, you're most likely in their radar, so you gotta be careful about this. And we have a Sherman and a Kagero. Important here is the Kagero is most likely able to outspot me pretty easily if he knows what he's doing, but not a big threat in general. The Sherman, on the other hand, needs to be dealt with in a very cautious manner, since Sherman generally tends to one-for-one ships like Smaland, Daring, Haaland, and so on. Very fast, very quick. It's essentially, the better the player, the less likely it is that you can actually face the Sherman without losing HP. And if you're not cautious enough, the Sherman might actually just immediately evaporate you with SAP, because you are so fat and clumsy, so always be careful about Shermans. Then again, I outspot him by at least 500 meters, even if he's full conceal. Sadly, we don't play a radar in the div, but that shouldn't be an issue here. So what are we doing? We, for once, didn't get the spawn on the third corner. Third corner is kind of okay for Daring, because I can snail, but in general, I like this side more, it's more open. So what I'm doing is, I try to get into the flank as soon as deep as possible, so there's no room for an enemy DD to essentially go there and perma outspot our team while torping it as well. Also, I can pop Hydra in the corner, so there's an entire angle of the map covered for my battleship or my cruiser. Even if I don't play div here, my team is pretty much safe from that angle if I pop Hydra there and just stay in the general area. What makes Daring so unique? Well, it's pretty much the best hybrid between torp and gunboat, by far. The short burst smoke is arguably the best one for randoms, because you can pop it 7 times a game if you play Superintendent, which you should, because of 3 heals. You can pop it at any given moment in time to dodge spotting. By the way, that Kagero gets plane spotted here. That is not my spotting. But yeah, I just generally try to pressure the Kagero away. I know now where he is. I pop my Hydra immediately. He didn't know I'm here, even though maybe he assumed it because he's playing RPF. But in general, I'm instantly smoking up. I don't want to really take the risk of getting shot at by the Azuma and the Conqueror too much. So I'm just going to smoke up, trying to get some fires. And the Kagero is essentially already pressured away. From where he is, he could not torp Bison now, and I'm going to keep the corner. Also because the carrier is spotting on the left side of me. I'm going to keep the corner clean of this DD, so Monty and Riga can essentially play the game however they want. They are most likely even allowed to go dark. Problematic now is that the Kronstadt is coming in, so you have to be careful about the radar. Don't go in too deep, just stay at range. Even if you can't shoot anything necessarily, you should not go in deeper. Getting caught deep in the Kronstadt radar itself is not problematic because the Kronstadt might kill you. Kronstadt is actually something where you can tank the radar. If it's only the Kronstadt that can shoot you, you can, if you're healthy in a DD, you can definitely tank the radar because Kronstadt doesn't have improved dispersion. It has like battleship dispersion, and it has pretty shit reload. So, and very, let's say, weak HE alpha. Most of them are AP loaded anyway, so you can just, most of the times you can just sit there and tank the radar itself. As said, I'm going out here deeper into the corner, deeper, deeper, deeper. I have a smoke ready. That's the good part about the short bursts. If I'm spotted, I can essentially always disengage, so I'm trying to keep the Kagero away. Turns out though that the Kagero is an actual maniac and goes through between island and me. He actually pushes through to our base and gets really lucky that he doesn't get spotted or the carrier comes back to him. I get radared, no need to smoke. Essentially, I just have to tank it. Thankfully, most of them are ignoring me at the moment. And now I can smoke again after the radar is down, instantly go dark. And you should not be too... you shouldn't be too reluctant to use the smokes just to go dark. You can use it essentially all the time. Strength of daring, as said, is hybrid. You have torps and you have guns. You have an insane hydro. If you play hydro mod, you also have the possibility of essentially never eating a torp, because if with hydro mod and flag it's like 4.5 minutes of hydro duration kind of. So no issue there. You have a heal, so you can come kind of back from the dead. Cunningham is an insane buff on daring if you want to play it. Yeah. You can definitely choose to do that. But the other gimmick that daring has, and also the reason why torp specs on daring aren't as stupid as they first seem, is snailing. Then again, in randoms you're not going to snail a lot. In randoms it's most likely better to spread your torps, get the flood, smoke up and get the fires, or the other way around, you smoke up, get fires, and then your torps hit for one flood. So you want to ensure like 1 or 2 torp hits, which means spreading them is better. The snailing is mostly a hit and miss strategy. 10% of the time you nuke the enemy ship completely, 90% of the time you miss. Because if they make small adjustments or they move a little bit, you have issues hitting the snail. See, there the Kagero went through the base. Insane. Actually insane. Complete maniac. Would have never expected it. I mean, I'm still here in front of Bison in the Monty to zone the Kagero, but Kagero just said, fuck it, bro. I'm gonna go into the base. At this point also, daring is so slow you couldn't really hunt it. That's a problem about daring. You don't have speed boost and you have very shit base speed. So repositioning is not a real thing. You have to be careful about not splitting yourself off from any sort of action too early. I mean, if they would start capping base now, well, that's not really up to us to decide. We're holding the entire flank with 2 ships. So if they get base capped now, our team, then it's a GG Reds and our team is just dented. There you can see, I spread the torps, I didn't snail, I get 2 torp hits, he gets floods. He insta-DCPs, obviously he has to, and I can just like open water gunboat him. Here you can also open water gunboat in daring. There's no ship very close to me, apart from the Kronstadt, and as I said, Kronstadt has pretty shit DPM, pretty shit dispersion, and AP loaded. There you can see it. Like, there's not gonna be a lot of damage coming out of that Kronstadt, so I can just sit here. There's also no need to smoke up now because he has radar ready. As you know, he radared me earlier, but that was already like 1.5 minutes ago. So you can just open water gunboat, and it's fine to trade HP here. Yeah, so now the game is suddenly shifting into mid-game. We were stationary on the flank the entire time. I essentially spotted and zoned for Bison, or the Monty. And now we can, or we have to push up. We're down 3 ships, now we're down 2 ships. Our team doesn't look too smart and too educated as to what to do in this game. The Iowa was unspotted behind the island a long time, and I didn't smoke up, so there was no way he actually escapes there. I can shoot now because he can't bring his guns to bear early enough. I go dark again. Azuma is outside of my range if you watch, so you can shoot. I'm trying to rush him now essentially, because if he stays like that, I have torps loaded, I am full HP, and we need to make something happen quick, so I'm trying and attempting the rush. I can go a bit into how I'm going to do it at this point. The Kagero is free torping the Yamato, but as said, he's so far away, even if I hunt him, the ship's base speed is faster than me, and he also has speed boost, so I'm never going to catch up to him. If he does that move and gets away with it, that's GG to him. He made a nice move, he got on an unsuspected angle, he used his 5.4 km conceal, but you couldn't really blame us. Like, seriously, there's a carrier, there's a Riga with radar, there are other ships, but, I mean, yeah. Our team essentially left the middle completely open. So you crawl up, close to the island, and now there's 2 things that could have happened. He could have accelerated into me, then I can snail or rush him. Now it's a problem. It's 3 km, and as I said, daring is slow. There's no real way I can rush towards him without the Conqueror and the Azuma actually killing me. So I just smoke up. Your smoke fire is 2.8, 2.6 or something, so you can just smoke up here and shoot. He might blind fire me, but that's still better than going closer to Conqueror and Azuma that are perma shooting me. Look, the Azuma already hit me, pretty big. I didn't snail the torps, I widespreaded them to get essentially 1 or 2 torp hits safe. So he floods, and now I sent the second set to secure perma floods, and I can still, with 20 seconds on the smoke, I can still give him permafires. So in these kind of situations, if you rush people, with French DDs you could have maybe gone through with it, but in some scenarios it's better to just abandon. It's not worth it to 100% commit there and go deeper. Like, you would probably die to the Conqueror and the Azuma afterwards if you go for the super rush there. And especially, as I said, daring is really, really slow, so I'm in a really, really fucky position after I reach him and I can finally torp him, because he's going to perma-reverse, which you could see, and he's not going to stop reversing. So yeah, just stay there, smoke up. You have your torps ready to just get like one torpid on each set, secure a permaflood and fire on him. Also Bison helps out with the Monty as well. I mean, that's good to know that there's a battleship behind you that is not completely dented. So now the Conqueror is moving up. Azuma is constantly running outside of my range, so it's pretty far away. He's not that big of a threat. If I eat a few K, like if I eat 3-4K damage from him, it's fine. The Conqueror DCP'd, so I'm once again using these short burst smokes, which I have 7 from, to quickly smoke up and get the fires. That's pretty much the strength of it. My torpedoes are not needed here because the Conqueror, me being spotted, pretty much draw the Conqueror flat broadside to the Monty and Bison just nukes him. That's something you can work with as a torpedo DD. Most people know what DDs actually have insane torps, like Daring, Shimmer, Gearing, Submerse, stuff like that. If you go spotted at the right time, you can either bait people into your torps, or you can bait people to turn flat broadside to your team. Because people are essentially always trying to dodge the CV or the torp DD. I don't know. They just hate it. I'd probably go for a 50-50, like angle to both, and hope that the torps kind of miss. But I mean, most people in this game are hidden. Like, they're 100%. Like, you 100% dodge the shot from the. You 100% nose into the Monty, or you 100% dodge the torps. This is kind of their mentality. So you can really work with that, even if it's complete random battles and there's no division mate that you actually play with. I mean, the enemy team is still running from us, but they completely, essentially wiped out our team in the so-called third corner, because it is the third corner. So now we have the issue that it's kind of becoming a base race. Like, can I draw them back to their base? Whomst of their group is going to their base? Yeah. Generally, it's also smart for Bison now with the Monty to push behind me. It's like always this kind of dual, not dual, this kind of team up that we do, where I'm in front of him for spotting and zoning and he's behind me. You could obviously put a cruiser into this entire thing. Sadly, it's standard battle, by the way, so you're only going to see the performance of the ship, but not in a scenario of actual contesting, because Daring is really good at contesting. It's one of the best. The only things that really fuck you in contest scenarios is heavy radar coverage of the enemy team with 12 km sitting unkillable on rocks, or stuff like Smaland. The rest is kind of fine. You essentially out-contest every DD. Once again, coming back to the snail torps, for randoms it's not really smart to spec for torpedoes on Daring, because your snail torps... First of all, I wouldn't take the module because it mostly fucks your torp tubes, because it enhances the chances of getting your torp tubes incapacitated. I don't think it's worth it. Maybe you spec the 10% on the captain, but not the 15% module. I would go gun there always. Also, the gun reload module is just better than captain skills for gun reload. So the scenario here is the Sherman finally gets spotted, goes into their base, and we essentially at this point have to hope that our team deals with him. Sadly, it's going to be a scenario where our teammates die in spawn now, so I'm trying to go back now. I'm dropping the idea of capping their base. Problem is, because of the CV, like, I'm not going to get the cap anyways. If both battleships turn back and I'm constantly being harassed by that carrier, I'm not going to get the cap. And the Sherman is most likely going to kill both ships in base. Battleships can also shoot the carrier, so there's a high chance he can then pop a 2.5 minute smoke and actually cap through. And we're so far away and we're so slow that we can't stop him, so this is a risk. I tried to go back to base, also trying to cut off battleships at the process. I expected the Yamato to go nose in exactly here on this gap, which is fine because I can still like dodge his spotting. But I didn't expect the Lenin to turn that way. I expected the Lenin to turn base towards our Monty, so I can just creep through this gap here now. And the problem now becomes Yamato is fine and good. I can like kind of survive his shots. Problem is the carrier has a heart for me, is spotting me the entire time. Now the short burst smoke comes in handy again just to dip out and get unspotted again. But the Lenin is literally 2-3 kilometers on this corner, and if I cross, he's most likely going to get 2 shots or more. Problem is, if the carrier keeps spotting me, I'm running to the left of the rocks here. Like if you look at the battleships now, to the left. I'm not really safe there. I can't really dive behind another rock. By the way, here I snailed a Yamato because he has very little way of maneuvering, so the snail is very smart in this scenario. Don't send all 10 though, because there's, first of all, there's still the Lenin. Second of all, you don't know if you actually hit the snail on the Yamato, so you may need more torps after he adjusted his position. Also, if I run up to the base now with carrier spotting, the Sherman can, as I said, just smoke up and also perma-fuck me. The Yamato gets snailed out here, and now I obviously have to send it into the Lenin. He came up a bit too far now. If he would have set back further, I can take the shot. If he set back further behind, I had a harder time actually rushing him out. But now that he came so close, you can just snail him one by one, and he gets that one shot. Yeah, I mean, obviously I have to hope that the HE doesn't completely one-shot me. It didn't, so lucky me there. The Sherman keeps cap. Like, the Sherman is actually capping. Also, as I said, killed Benson and Carrier, and is still alive. And the enemy carrier is still whoring for me. He's perma-spotting me in front of the Sherman. As you can see, he already smoked on my right, so he doesn't have a smoke. But what you shouldn't do is engage these kind of ships like Sherman, maybe even Ragnar, at long range with daring. Your guns are very puny. You do have very floaty arcs. If you want to fight DDs, you go close up. Good tip for daring is also, daring has improved penetration angles on the AP. It's kind of like small minnow AP. Fuse and penetration angles are better than other DDs. So if you're close to very fat destroyers, you should load AP. You can load AP essentially against every destroyer, but the ones that it works 100% on and is better than HE is like Haaland, Smaland, Gearing, Sherman, stuff like that. If you're really close and you can make your shells hit on midship where they arm the entire time, all the way from start to finish of the engagement, then you can load AP on the daring. But if you have a more long range fight, let's say 7 kilometers and above, 6 kilometers and above maybe even, you should probably load HE and just get the safe damage in. Yeah, that's tip for daring. We're going into the spec anyways in a few seconds. This is like me just engaging the Sherman. He has HE loaded, probably better for me than SAP, honestly. I like it when the Shermans shoot HE. I feel like the HE is way weaker. And yeah, there you go. I could have loaded AP here, but I just wanted to finish him with HE. I don't have the end screens for the entire battle. As you could see, it was Bison and me getting like 8 kills, I think, in the end. I had 300k. It was 3.3 base, I think, for me. I believe. Or it was, maybe it was less, because it was so low tier. But in general, you just saw how the DD in standard battle, zoning in front of his battleship, can essentially control the engagement with spotting. The enemy team had the Kagero for spotting, but he split off in the beginning, and then everyone pretty much just ran from us because they knew there is a DD that is not being spotted or counter-spotted or zoned by their own DD. And also I'm perma-spotting their ships for my Monty, so you could kind of see how you can deal with the engagement. Currently in randoms it's mostly that way. If you kill the enemy DD, every one of the enemy team is just going to go permakite. Same with your team, kind of. So that's also another reason why DDs are currently, or in general, really good for winning games, solo or in divisions, because you bring so much, let's say, passive impact on the game that people don't really realize. Like, people are going into caps immediately when I'm always saying, like, please spot the flank first. If you have 4 DDs, obviously 2 DDs can go cap on each side, 2 DDs can flank each side. Sometimes it's even better to just overwhelm the enemy DD on the flank with 2 DDs. But in general, if you keep the spotting advantage and therefore the map control on the flank, it's better. You control the enemy team just by existing and spotting them permanently. It's also psychologically really hard for enemies mostly or randoms, even in competitive, to deal with spotting. Like you don't know where he is, you don't know what the DD has behind him, because obviously since you bring forward spotting, your team can choose to stay dark if they so want. So yeah, you can kind of force others to do something without even interfering in terms of damage or capping or something, just by spotting. People neglect that fact, but it's 100% present. I mean, just play randoms and look at flanks after their 1 or 2 DDs on their flank inted and suicided, and then just look what they do. They're just running and perma-kiting because they feel unsafe. Whatever. Coming back to daring, my captain spec is essentially just really basic. I mean, you get superintendent, survivability expert, and adrenaline rush 100%, also concealment 100. And then you have like 5 points left because last stand and preemptive maintenance are also basic. So you have PT. I play PT because the ship is very slow, so I really want to know when I'm open watering from time to time if I'm getting shot at. And I have BFT for 5% guns. Arguably, you could also switch to 10% torpedo reload. Probably even more valuable. Could be. I think the 10% torp is better than 5% gun, but definitely I would say switch to, or like I play BFT because Fearless Brawl isn't active a lot on daring since you're using your short burst smoke so often that make you go unspotted. Also continuous open water gunboating and daring is not advisable since daring is very slow and clumsy, so dodging incoming fire below 12 kilometers against most ships is really hard. Ships like Nevsky, Moskva, Venezia nuke you. They tend to hyper nuke you if you're like, even if you try to dodge, your ship is just too slow and it reacts too clumsy. You could definitely drop the PT if you don't like it and go for Fearless Brawl as a 4-pointer additional for more gun DPM. That could make sense, and then you go like Turret Traverse maybe, I don't know, or Incoming Fire Alert, whatever you want. But you could also drop the PT and for fire chance. I mean, this is daring doesn't really need the extra 5 points. Like daring is a complete perfect destroyer with what is it, a 16-point commander. You only need the preemptive maintenance, last stand, survivability expert, adrenaline rush, superintendent, and concealment. That's just daring. Like AFT daring is shit. You don't need anything else. Essentially, it's also therefore really good for, let's say, your first DD line. You learn how to torp, you learn how to gunboat, you learn how to contest. It's very forgiving from Jutland onward with the heal and the amount of short burst smoke you get. You also get 10 km torps from Jutland onward, so there's some sort of safety usage for them. Yeah. Then modules. I don't play Hydro mod just because it's my second account. I didn't really want to buy it because it's already 3 minutes. If it's your main account and you really want to play daring, I would say just slot the fucking Hydro mod on there. Your Hydro is literally a millennia long. It's 4 minutes or something. You will never eat a torp. The hydro can't be used aggressively, obviously, because it's only 3 kilometers, but the whole purpose of this hydro is to be safe in your smokes or safe in your general area of torps. Like, you hydro every torp out. It's also a big cock block, for example, for YYs now, or general torp DDs. If you're in front of your team and you have your hydro on for 4 minutes, there's a good chance you spot a lot of fucking torps for your team, essentially neglecting damage on them passively. You can't slot Excel mod because it's British, so you take the rudder. I have gun reload. As said, I think the gun reload is better because the torp reload mod makes your torp launchers go incapacitated a lot. Especially lately, I tend to lose a lot of torp tubes perma. I play torp speed because of the snail. The gun dispersion would probably be better for my spec, but I really like the snail to be a bit faster. Like, if you snail people, you want them to get as little reaction time as possible. If you try to start snailing with daring, please only snail like nose-in targets that are stationary. Don't ever snail people that are actually moving. That is completely and utterly wasted. Literally one movement by them and they dodge the entire snail. It's really risky, but if people, it's essentially designed to nuke people that are nose-in. So nose in on an island even, that's the perfect scenario, where one side of them is even blocked off by an island so they can't maneuver. So you can just essentially torp the edge of the island and then you hit them. Yeah, so that's it for daring. Generally the most versatile DD probably, that is also still, let's say, uh, unlockable, because the Smarland obviously you have to pay a few thousand on Christmas crates. Other DDs like Ragnar are steel. Yeah, Vampire is also a bit more special. I would advise to rather go for daring than Vampire, especially if you want to learn how to play DD. But yeah, that's it for daring. Hope you understood a bit currently what I'm doing. I'm going to make another video on Kondo soon with the F key adventures. I think someone asked for a daring video as well, so here you go. Hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, just tell me whatever you thought. If you have questions about the playstyle, or if I should go like even more into detail what I'm actually doing in the game, then leave a comment. I feel like I could definitely talk a bit more about it. Then I would obviously drop the part where I talk about the ship in general or scenarios. But yeah, take it easy, have a nice weekend, and see you soon.